This is tea, and it will be spilt over the course of this video. No, seriously though, I made some tea in my Alice in Wonderland mug, and I low-key think I look kind of like Cinderella. I want to talk to you about the magical, fantastical thing called money. I think money is really hard to talk about. Not necessarily money in general, but our own experiences with money. When I think money right now is such a personal taboo, to an extent I feel like there is shame connected to the money that we have. And I don't think that should be the case, in my opinion. For the longest time, I was very ashamed of money. And I was very shameful of talking about money when I was living in the UK and when I was figuring out a lot of stuff, and for some reason money came out a lot. And that made me realize I am not good at all with personal finance. No one really taught me how to budget and save. No one really taught me how to do anything, really. I don't have a lot of skills, as we can tell. Not the point. The point is, I kind of want to be there for the young people who are still trying to figure money out. Because yeah, it is really hard, and when no one tells us what to do with money, we have a tendency to overspend or over budget or just not feel happy when the topic of money comes up. I'm not here as a financial planner, I'm not here as a financial expert, because I'm not. I'm here as just kind of someone who's still figuring it out, and hopefully you want to hear what I have to say about it. While I don't have a consistent income, I am very lucky that now I'm in a position where I live with my parents, and that allows me to save a lot of money in the first place. And for that, I am extremely, extremely grateful. I know a lot of people do not have that privilege, and I'm acknowledging it right now that I am in a different position than a lot of people, not only in Brunei, but in the world. I know that it's really difficult to talk about money right now because there's a potential recession going on, a lot of people are losing their jobs. This video is specifically for those who are interested in learning how to save up or budget as a beginner. This is just something that I wish I had learned at the very, very start, and that I wish someone would tell me. It's not about investments or risks and bonds and stocks, because I honestly don't get it yet. This is purely saving, budgeting, and being realistic on money. That being said, I want to be honest and truthful when I talk about money. So I want to tell you a little story about how bad I am with money. I'm telling you guys the worst bits about me, and it sucks. So for a long time when I was living in the UK, I was broke. I was very, very broke. Rent took out probably 75% of my allowance, my budget, and that's excluding bills usually. So after other bills like gas, water, electricity, etc., I think I only had about 50 to 100 pounds for everything else, like groceries, general expenses, anything that I could spend, I spent it, and it sucked so much. Maybe it's because I never really sat down and thought about money as a liquid thing. I just couldn't budget properly, and it felt like everything I did, everything that made me happy, was money wasted. Every time I bought a workout class that was like £3 at the gym, or even a cup of coffee at Starbucks or wherever, I had felt horrible. I had felt disgusted at myself for spending £3 when I could have just saved it, even though that class made me happy. Hell, I had to stop going to therapy in the UK because it was £40 a session, and I could not afford it. That was a bad idea. If you have to pay for therapy, please figure out a way to pay for therapy. It's really beneficial. Depression sucks. That's all you gotta know. All I could do was hate myself for it, because I could see all my friends just hanging out, having fun, and that made me feel horrible, because it felt like I was too broke to do anything or too bad at managing money. And it's no fault of my friends, because obviously they might have a different way of budgeting. They probably had very good allowances, or they had worked really hard on that income and their money. I can't really judge them for that. I could only judge myself for apparently not being very good at whatever I did. So money was always an issue for me in the UK. For 3 years, I think I could not spend on anything that made me truly feel happy, even though I was spending money. So now that I'm back home in Brunei and honestly have no responsibilities other than a few fixed expenses, and other than that, I've realized about 3 things. 1, I am financially incompetent. I do not know anything about money, and money is tied with my emotions. If I'm sad or depressed or done with life, I will buy a t-shirt. I will spend 20 pounds on Fenty Beauty for a quick hit of dopamine. I know this because I have a lot of makeup. There's a reason why I have a lot of makeup. It's because I'm depressed. 2, when I was living in the UK, I didn't know where my money was going, but I knew I was spending too much. And 3, I don't want to feel bad about spending money, especially if I'm spending it on things or experiences that make me feel happy and make me feel good. And for the longest time, it felt like everything that made me happy was a waste of money. And I don't want to feel that way anymore, even if that means consciously deciding that, yes, I have to enjoy this. So keeping this in mind, I really did sit down and thought about what I wanted in the short term and the long term. This was back maybe last year, late last year, early this year, where I really wanted to see what I wanted financially. What was it that I wanted in the short term and in the long term? Short term for me, I want to have an emergency fund. For starters, I think it is $1,000, so I'm trying to build up to that. And I want to have 5K in savings and start a retirement plan. That is my short-term goals for now. I think a lot of people have different goals that they want to reach. It sounds like a good enough number for me, but for you, it might be completely different. And in the long term, and for me, that's 2 to 3 years, because I can't think any farther than that. 2 to 3 years, I would like to pay for my own master's, which sounds very daunting because masters are expensive, but I want to pay for my own masters. I think an MBA is something that I want to do in the near future, and I also want to be self-sufficient, independent, and travel more. I think over the past few years I've realized how much I do enjoy traveling and seeing the world, and so I always want to make sure I have a little bit of money wherever I am, whoever, whenever I am, to spend on travel. So now that you have your goals in mind, we can start looking into how to budget and save up easily and hopefully not make you go a little mental and sad. The first thing you gotta know is your cash flow. Your cash flow is your income minus fixed expenses. Whatever you have left, that is what you're going to use for your budget. Even if you are a freelancer or you have an allowance or you're unemployed and still figuring everything out, you should know, or you should get an idea of how much money is going in and how much money is going out. That way, no matter what happens, you kind of know what you need to do. The best thing you can do right now is to sit down and really look at your finances, no matter how much you hate it, because I did. I looked through my old Amazon purchases and I have to be honest, I do not remember purchasing any of these products. Anyway, knowing that and knowing how much money you can use or spend on that month, we can follow some money rules. To be honest, I'm still trying to figure out this one because some people say different things. Dave Ramsey has a pretty good one, Elizabeth Warren said something pretty good, but because I am a freelancer and I don't have a lot of responsibilities, money is really shaky. Since some months I do get paid and some months I don't, I have to figure out my own system that makes me feel like I'm comfortable for the next 3 to 6 months without relying too much on an income that's regular. Whenever I get a paycheck, 30% goes into my savings, 20% for content work, and then X amount of money goes to next month's fixed expenses and Y amount of money goes into next month's budget. Whatever is left, or if anything is left, I go towards my sinking funds. What is a sinking fund, you say? Aisha, can I have my book? Where is it? It's over there.
You have a lot of black dots.
Yeah, because I'm dark and evil.
It says the one dressed up as Cinderella.
Ow! I touched a little bit on sinking funds in my bullet journal video. Essentially, it's this. I don't know if you could see it. It's like this. Sinking funds is just me trying to put money away for things I want or things that I expect to do in the future. So rather than a bulk purchase or taking it out of my own budget, I can just use the money that I've already saved up in my sinking fund. It's easy for me to think of it like a sinking fund because it's a little bit like a game. And I feel very organized and calculated when I do it, because I know that if I just put like $5 a day or like $10 a week, I can build enough money to get this new Pat McGrath eyeshadow palette, or save enough money to do this or that. So I know that I can pay it off without worrying. It feels like a game because I know that I've saved enough money and filled the colors in, so I can, spend without feeling too bad and feeling like I accomplished something. I don't know. I like it. I'm very goal-oriented. I'm a goal-oriented person. So you obviously need your basic sinking funds, like travel when we can, hair for me, and health. Then I have the little fun things that I want, like saving up for an iPad, saving up for a new MacBook, and as well as room renovations. It's basically stuff that I know I want, but in the near future. So I think in terms of 3 months, 6 months of purchase. Some people can think that long term, some don't. You just gotta figure out a way for you to save up without feeling like you have to. I think that's the most important thing. We've talked a little bit about, money rules and sinking funds, but, this whole video is really about budgeting. Budgeting and finance is hard. You need to give yourself a budget, something that you know you can stick to for the rest of the year at least. Easier said than done. Trust me. We have to be completely realistic about how much we spend on average. And seriously, it's not as easy as you think, because there's a lot of shame that I felt when I had to figure out my own budget. Because I thought, you know what, I'm good, I'm self-disciplined, I could live on 150 Brunei dollars, sure. No, I couldn't. It was not in me to spend that little, especially since I went out to eat for lunch all the time. I eventually just over budgeted, overspent, and I had to dip into my savings, and that sucked. I gave myself a budget that's under my income bracket because it's inconsistent anyway, so that I can spend whatever I want that month without feeling bad. So I'm gonna give you an example of my budget. February was much better for me because excluding my fixed expenses, I gave myself an overall budget of 250. And within that budget, I made another tiny budget for food, entertainment, work, and miscellaneous. Stuff that I knew that I would likely spend on. And I think I budgeted 90 to 100 bucks on food because I'm Bruneian, I love to eat. This budget could be completely different for you, but you just gotta stick to it. I think that's the hardest part. But if you're realistic about how much you spend and you don't want to overspend, looking at that budget would be super helpful. If you want, I do have a link to my February budget and finance tracker as an example. And I also have a template that you can use if you want to, which you should. It's up on my Patreon. Speaking of finance tracker, have a finance tracker. It has been so helpful for me to kind of track my spending over the past 5 months, because now I realize I spend a little bit too much. When you give yourself a budget, you use a finance tracker to track your expenses. This doesn't have to be complicated. For me, it's a simple Google sheet. You don't want to overcomplicate it. I did for my January budget, and I was so confused with myself that eventually I just kind of stopped and had to redo everything. I decided to streamline it, and it was completely fine, and that's what I've been using for the past 3 to 4 months. I try to update my finance tracker regularly, like whenever I spend money, I tend to put in like the little accounts on that day, no matter how small or insignificant it feels like, even if it's just $1, because that dollar bills can add up. Because then once you have all your expenses in one place, you realize how much you spend and what you don't remember spending on. And that was such a shock to me that, all these $1 bills that I've just paid for no reason can accumulate into something much more. I use a tracker because it is a great visual cue to see where all my money is going, and it makes me realize that I do not want to spend money because I don't want to add that into the list and make me feel bad. Tricking your brain into not doing things that you're not supposed to do. Good on you, Badge. If you have excess money, you should put it away where it's not easily accessible. I realized that if I can see the money in my account, I will spend that money. No matter how much or how little the money is, I will want to spend it because my brain thinks, oh, it's there, I can use it. No, that's not how it goes. So I like to put my savings or sinking funds into a different account where I don't see it, I don't look at it, I don't notice it. It's really important for me personally to know that that money not in my budget is not money for me now. It's money for the future, it's money for savings, it's money for something else. And the only thing I can do is put it away somewhere, whether it is in another account or in a physical jar or wherever you think is the safest. Got it? Got it. But that being said, I think that if you do have excess money after budgeting and savings and all that, you still have a surplus. You should be allowed to spend that money on whatever you want. You should be fully comfortable in treating yourself and making yourself happy with whatever purchase that is. You don't need to save that money if you already saved and done your goals for that month. You can use that excess money to get yourself a new lipstick, new pair of shoes, good haircut. You should decide whether or not that excess money should be used to spend or save. It's honestly up to you. For me personally, if I already saved up my goals for that month and budgeted everything for the next 3 months maybe, I like to treat myself. I fully want to invest in myself and my personhood, whether that is like a knitting pattern or yarn, because it makes me happy. Just those things, those material goods do make me happy, and I don't want to feel suckish or bad about wanting to purchase those things for myself. And I think that's a healthy way to look at money. Right now, I think, especially in these really, really, really weird times, money is weird. Money is hard to talk about. Money is just the bane of everyone's existence, and yet we want it more. I'm not an expert on money. I'm not. I don't even know why I sat down to make this video, but it's really interesting for me to talk about my personal experiences with money in hopes that it's easier for you to talk about it too. I'm not saying we should all like tell each other our salaries, because, well, you can, but it's up to you. I'm saying that we should really remove the stigma of, feeling bad about money or feeling like we're the worst at it, because we can obviously get better. We can get better at what we want, our goals, our financial goals, to make ourselves be better people and feel better about ourselves. But like I said, I am not an expert at money. I'm not an expert in finance. If I was, I wouldn't be telling you how bad I am with it. I just want to show you that everyone starts somewhere. And somewhere looks like this or something else. Some people have it better than others, but also some people have it worse. And acknowledging that and knowing that we live in a society like that is pretty gosh darn important. And we have to do everything that we can to hopefully balance it out and make ourselves comfortable in this kind of society we live in today. That was a very weird tangent, sorry. Anyway, if you want to hear more, I would recommend The Financial Diet, which is a really, really great YouTube channel that is like female-esque for personal finance, as well as Asia Dang. She's really, really cool, and she's super honest about her loan journey, which is amazing. They both do really, really great YouTube videos about finance and money, and they're 100% honest about their approach of it, which I absolutely love. I think it's really, really refreshing. And there is a Brunei blogger called The Savvy Fox that talks about financial planning, and I've looked through their blog and they're really, really helpful, and I'd honestly recommend them as well. And it's given me a lot of opinions about finance that I personally would have never realized in the first place. It's getting late, I need to eat. If you like this video, please do like, comment, and subscribe. Do let me know if you want to learn more about money from my perspective. You probably don't, but my name is Bash Harry, and I'll see you soon. Bye!